So in the last session, we have seen how to create accounting calendar. And before that, we discussed what are the parameters we have to consider to create accounting calendar. So far, whatever we discussed and whatever we did in the instance, any questions from anyone, please? Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, no questions. Fine. So to create the transaction, we need three components: date, details, and amount. Date, details, and amount. These three components we require. So we discussed about date component. With the date component, we can capture the date for every transaction. To keep date component ready, we have to create accounting calendar. This is what we discussed. Also, we created in the last session. So we'll talk about the component called as details after some time. First, we will pick amount component. In every transaction, we have to enter the amount. In every transaction, you have to enter the amount. So when you enter the amount in every transaction, the amount is going to be in which currency we have to address. So here we have to talk about currencies. One is calendar, which talks about date. The other component is currencies. So when you create the transaction, within that we enter certain amount. The amount belongs to which currency we have to keep a note. Say for example, our client is doing the business in US. In US, the local currency is USD. So the US local currency is USD. If you are doing the implementation for US client, this USD currency we call as functional currency. If you are doing the business in US, if client is doing the business in US, and if you are doing the implementation for country US, the currency what we use within the US that we call as functional currency. Say you are doing the implementation for one of the client in India. Then what are the local currency we have in India? That currency we call as functional currency. Say your client is doing the business only in India. It means your functional currency is only INR. Other than functional currency, all currencies we call as foreign currencies. So your client is doing the business only in India. So INR is the functional. Other currency, USD and many other currencies, whatever you take for the consideration, all we call as foreign currencies. The simple point is, other than functional currency, all currencies we call as foreign currencies. Okay, other than functional currency, all currencies we call as foreign currencies. This is what we have to understand. The client currency, like if they are doing the business in US, USD is the functional. For US business, INR is the foreign. When client is doing the business in India, INR is the functional, USD is the foreign. Always other country currency is foreign currency. So this is what we have to understand in the system point of view as well as reality. And say I'll take some figures here, 1,000 and 50,000, 100. Now these figures we have to represent with the currencies. 10,000 is 1,000 is what? Say 1,000 is USD. What is this 5,000? That is INR. So what is this 100? Okay, marks. So whatever you enter in the system, that you have to represent with currency value. USD and INR, these two are currency measurements. You are measuring the currency as a dollars and rupees. But below we have another value called as 100. That also you are measuring, but not related to money measurements. This is another measurement, marks. If it is not marks, maybe kilograms, kilometers, liters, square feet, or millimeters or centimeters. These all are measurements, but these all are not related to money related measurements. If any measurements related to money, those we call as monetary measurements, money related measurements, rupees, dollars, dinars. These all we call as monetary measurements. There are certain measurements which we call as non-monetary measurements. Those doesn't talks about money. As we discussed, marks, liters, meters, square feet, kilograms. These all are the measurements. These measurements are not related to money measurements. So any sort of measurement, if you are going to record in the system for any purpose, that you can treat as stat currency. You can call as stat currency. Other than money, all the measurements you call as statutory measurements. All the measurements you treat as statutory measurements. When we deal with the statutory measurements, in the system point of view, from the statutory, the first four letters, the prefix you have to take and we represent in the system as a stat. This we consider as a currency. Reality, it is not a currency, but in the system, if at all you are going to record any non-monetary values, or you can say statutory information, if you are going to record in the system, that you can represent with stat currency. No functional, no foreign. That is not at all a currency. The information is related to statutory information. So you have to call it as a stat currency, even that is not a stat currency. Even if that is not a stat currency, still in the system, you have to call it as a stat currency. You should call it as a stat currency. This is what we have to understand. That's all about stat currency. So you have to understand we have a three type of currencies. Okay, we have three type of currencies. So three type of currencies, those are functional, foreign, stat. Just this is the point we have to understand. We have a three type of currencies. Those are functional, foreign, and stat. So whatever it may be the currency, you no need to create in the system. So for every country, you have one specific currency. For all the countries, Oracle is providing the currencies information in every instance. In every instance, you can find the currency information. In every instance, you can find the currency information. So whatever the currency information you find in the system, that we call as seeded data. Since Oracle is providing, you can call it as a seeded data. So this is the point we have to understand. When we talk about currencies, you no need to create. All the currencies Oracle is providing. So that data you call as seeded data. This is what we have to understand. So any questions from anyone about currencies, please? We'll go on and see in the system. Okay.
Sorry, can you please repeat again what is stat currency on that? In short, yeah.
Currency, that is stat currency. Okay, kilograms, kilometers, meters. These all are the different measurements, right?
Yeah, thank you.
All measurements put together, we call with the simple name called as stat currency. That's it. You say score, I will say that is stat currency. You say kilometers, I call it as a stat currency as per system. That's it. That is a statistical information. Okay, statistical information we are calling as a stat currency. You don't need to focus on that. With that, we don't create the business transaction. If at all you want to do some calculations, you use it. Otherwise, that is not a primary thing. Okay, so you have to understand what is a functional and a foreign. Any questions, please?
Yeah, let's suppose we are doing a consolidated fixed asset statement, and in India, then we are getting the information from Romania entity as well. It means Romania currency will consider as a foreign currency in the Indian statement.
Correct. INR is the functional, other currencies are foreign.
Okay.
Yes. So any other questions about this currency, please? So we no need to create any currency in the system. All currencies Oracle is providing. You can use whatever the currencies we require. Okay. So let's see the currencies information, how to enable the currency to use whatever we require. Okay, just yeah. So this is the instance. You can go to our implementation project. Just click on the username. Let me refresh. So click on the username. Click on setup and maintenance. Task list. Manage implementation project. Click on overview. So it will display the project, whatever we created and assigned to our user. Our project name is Max Implementation Project. Just click on project name. Now search for the task called as currencies, or search as a manage currencies. Search for currencies. The task name is manage currencies. Click on manage currencies. Just click on go to task icon. Here you can find any currency. Say I want to find out USD. Search. So currency code is USD. Currency name is US dollar. Description is US dollar. And it is enabled in this instance. If you disable it, it won't be available to record the transactions. So what are the currencies you are going to use to record the transactions? That could be functional currency or foreign currency. You should enable so that with those currencies, you can do the required setups and you will be able to use those currencies when you record the transactions. When you record the transactions, you can use those currencies. That's how it works. Keep it as enabled. Here you have a start date and end date. You no need to provide any start date and end date, not required. Okay, somebody for testing purpose, they given start date, ideally not required. If you don't want to use this currency, disable it. It won't be available to create the transactions, or it won't be available to do some setups to choose this currency. And you can expand this currency record. You can see this currency belongs to which country, what is the symbol of the currency, those details you can see, symbol and issuing territory, all these details you can see. You no need to set anything. You no need to set anything. These currencies data will come as a seeded data along with every fresh instance. When you do the implementation, this data you get in every fresh instance. Now, so you can check for INR. See, somebody created currency called as INR like this. Okay, we no need to create. If it is created by somebody, you can delete it. If the same currency is provided by Oracle, you cannot delete. See, delete function is disabled. You no need to create currency. Always we have to use whatever Oracle is providing. So this is the point you have to understand. Okay, that's all about currency. If you want to see all the currencies, click on search. So these are the seeded currencies Oracle is providing. So really,
Just one question.
please.
If we don't need any currency in the project, we don't need to disable, right? We can just let it be.
I'm about to talk the same.
Okay.
Okay. So what we do is reality. If you are doing the implementation for 5 countries, the 5 countries may do the business with a few other countries, like they may have a suppliers and customers. Say total you need 10 currencies. Except 10 currencies, we disable all the currencies. Except 10 currencies, how many currencies you require? Rest of all the currencies you can disable so that these won't be available for business users when they record the transactions. When they record the business transactions, these currencies won't be available. That's how we can disable these currencies. So this is another point we have to understand about currencies. So any questions on currencies, please? And another point. If in any instance, mostly it won't happen. Sometimes you may come across. When you do the implementation, whatever the country currency, I mean, for a specific country, for which country you are doing the implementation, for that country, the currency is not available in the instance, you can create it. So always you can see all the currencies. If you come across with that case, what you can do is simply you can click on add. Okay, just click on add, and here you can add the currency. Just I'm entering Oracle as a currency. So this is how you can add, and you can expand it. This currencies belongs to which country you can select. Okay, and what is the symbol and all these details you can provide. So that's how we have a provision. We have an option to add the currency if required, but you get everything. You don't need to add anything. So that's all about currencies, what we have to understand. Any questions from anyone, please?
Yeah, sir, I want to ask, can we enable or create currencies as and when needed in future in ongoing projects?
Not required. The very first point is not required. If some currency is missing, you can add it. And when we talk about enabling, you no need to wait to enable. When you start doing the implementation, you know very well. You are doing the implementation for 5 countries. Yes, minimum 5 currencies are required. Those 5 currencies you can enable. It's not one second. But what Oracle is doing is, by default, they are providing all the currencies by enabling them. Okay, Oracle is providing all the currencies by default by enabling. What you may do is you can disable remaining all except whatever you need.
Okay.
Reverse activity.
And what if a company expands its business in future to another country? Then we can enable the required currency.
That's it.
Okay, correct.
Yeah. So that's how you can enable whenever it is required. At the time of implementation, how many currencies you require, except those currencies, remaining all we disable, because by default we get all the currencies as enabled in every instance. Okay, that's all about currencies. So we didn't do any changes. I'm canceling that page to close it. So calendar we have to create, we can capture the date. If you can enable the currencies, whatever the amount you are entering, you can capture that amount is belongs to which currency. Now, another point is description or details. So if you want to capture the details, let me write here. details or description. Okay. So when you talk about these details or description, so we have to maintain the data in the system, what data you are going to use when you record the transaction. So as a company, you can list out all the businesses what we are doing, maybe the businesses what we are doing. If you are doing the single business, in how many branches you are doing that business, you can list out. Let's say you are doing multiple businesses. Since we are using the project name as a max, I'll take the name as name with the same. Say we are doing business called as financial services. We are providing some financial services. The company name is Max. You can take the business is financial services. Another business is consulting services. So Max consulting services. And one more you can take as Max, say, BPO services. So this is how you have to maintain all the companies as a part of your organization, as an entity, okay, as an organization, what are the different businesses you are doing that you can list out. And these all are what? Your companies, or these all are part of your companies, you can say. For this, you can give the title as the list of information what you can see. This is related to company related data. You can give the title as a company. You can list out all your companies. Next, you can list out all your departments. Okay, you can list out all your departments. Say within your organization, you have a finance department, HR department, sales department, marketing department, say R&D department. This is how you can list out all the departments, how many you have in your organization. For that, you can give the title as departments or department, you can say. It talks about departments. You can give the title as the section belongs to department related data. And so as a part of your organization activities, you do on day-to-day basis different activities. You purchase, you sell, you spend some expense, and you pay salaries and different expenses, different activities. Those all you have to capture in the system with the concept called as account. Say you are paying the salaries to the employees. You have to use the account called as salary account. When you are paying the salary, you may pay by cash. You have to maintain that cash as one account. If you are paying through bank, the bank account you have to maintain as one account in the system. So what are the activities you are doing in the organization? All the activities you have to record in the system as accounts, like salaries account, and say travel expense account. You travel and you spend some expense, and you spend some admin expense, and you purchase laptops, you sell laptops. Okay. So this is what are the activities you are doing in the organization. All the activities you have to record in the system. You pay rent. Okay. And you have a multiple bank accounts. So you have HSBC, cash account, means bank account. Okay. City, instead of cash, you can say some saving account or checking account or corporate account. Simply you can take cash, no risk, cash account. So this is how you have to maintain all the accounts. The reality, if you look at any company, they can have these accounts in thousands or lakhs also, depending on the company size. Small and mid-sized companies, you can see accounts in thousands. In the large organizations, you can see accounts in lakhs also. Okay, we'll come to know all this in our classes. What are the different accounts companies can use, where you can find that information as a part of our learning. We'll see all those. So this complete information is related to accounts which are used by company to record the various activities what they perform. For this, you can give the title as account. This data talks about the accounts what they are using. So account related information you can list out here. So this is how you can maintain the data within the system. Whenever you are going to record the transactions, you can select this data and you can record. Every time you no need to write. Say you are paying the salaries. The finance department is paying the salaries. Means which company is taking the responsibility. So you have to select the company, you have to select the department, and you have to select the account. That's how you can create the transaction. Within the system, we have to maintain this complete data. When you maintain this data within the system, for ease of use, to simplify the usage in the system environment, you can give the numbering. For financial services, you can give number 1, for consulting number 2, for BPO number 3. The same way for a department account also you can give the numbering. When you give the numbering, what happens is, whenever you are going to record the transaction, you no need to look for the names and all. You can select the number. Number is already aligned with the company's departments and accounts. Okay. So for every company, every department account, you can give the separate number. When we are going to record the transaction in the system, you can use that number and you can record the transaction. You no need to write any name. You no need to select any name. Just select the number. Say you are going to record the transaction in the system. And if you are going to take the company as a 1, department as a 2, account as a 3, it makes sense. So company 1 means financial services, department 2 means HR, and account 3 means admin expense. So this is how for every company, department, account, you can give the numbering, so that whenever you record the transactions, you can select the numbers, not the names. Once you select the number, automatically the name system will pick. That's how you can manage this information as a part of your description related information. So this is how you can maintain. And now this complete information belongs to which organization? These are the different businesses what we are doing: financial services, consulting, BPO. This complete information, these are all companies, all the departments and all the accounts are belongs to which organization? That you can give as a title. Which organization? Say Max Corporation. So top level we are taking the Max Corporation. Under Max Corporation, we have a set of data. Okay, set of data we have. Let me just draw this for our understanding. Say here you can find certain hierarchy. We have Max Corporation. Under Max Corporation, we have 3 sets of data. We have a company's data, we have a department's data, and we have accounts data. If you look at this, we have a certain hierarchy here. Okay, under Max Corporation, you have a different companies, departments, and accounts. And under each and every title of the company's departments, we have a relevant information. Under companies, you have a company's data. I'll just move a little down so that I can represent better. Okay, under this title, what we have, the company's data we have. You see the hierarchy. Under company's title, you have a list of companies. Under department title, you can maintain all the list of departments. Under accounts, you can maintain the list of accounts. So this is how you have to arrange the data. So this is how you have to arrange the data. Okay, this is how you have to arrange the data. So top level, we have Max Corporation. Under that, we have a data classifications like companies, departments, and accounts. Under companies title, you have a list of companies. Under departments, list of departments. Under account, list of accounts. So this is how you have to maintain the data in the system. If you maintain the data in the system in this way, when we are going to record the transactions, it would be very easy for us to capture the data to record the transaction. Okay, we can maintain the data in the system in the same way so that our job will become easy when you record the transactions. So now I arrange this data within the spreadsheet because spreadsheet is very flexible. Spreadsheet is very flexible to write some, to enter some data, or just to draw some diagrams or flowcharts or any sort of data presentations. It's a very, very flexible application. In the same way, if you want to create in the Fusion applications, how it is possible? Yes, the Fusion applications you can create in the same way. So since it's a spreadsheet, simply I'm arranging like this. If I take the notepad, can I arrange like this? You may, but very difficult. So in the same way, within our Fusion applications, we have one feature called as accounting key flex field. Accounting key flex field. If you look at the name, you can understand. Flexi field, flex field means flexible field. Within our Fusion applications, we have a flexible fields. What purpose we have a flexible fields? Key data maintenance purpose. The company's department and account information is very, very key information for company. For the organization, all the companies, all the departments, all accounts are very, very key information. So that is the reason to maintain our company key information, there are some flexible fields in the system. So to maintain the key information of your company, we have a flexible fields in the system that we are calling as key flex field. What is the name of that key flex field? Accounting. The name of the key flex field is accounting key flex field. So here we have a company's departments accounts. But what activity you are doing is very, very important. So out of this company department account, very, very important element is account. That is reason, even if you are going to maintain this complete data within the accounting key flex field, we represent the name as accounting. Of course, along with the account, you take the company, you take the department, but everything we use for accounting and reporting purpose. That is the reason to maintain this set of information, what we discussed by following the same hierarchies within the Fusion application, we have one feature called as accounting key flex field. By using accounting key flex field, you can arrange the data as it is in Fusion applications. Whatever we have here, as it is, you can arrange within the Fusion applications. Okay, key flex field means to maintain the key information of the company. What is the key information of the organization? The company's departments and accounts. The company key information, if you want to maintain in the system, you have a flexible fields. Those will allow you to maintain how you want to maintain. And ultimately, what purpose we are going to maintain the complete data? For accounting purpose. You create the transactions in the more meaningful way. You create the accounting. Based on the accounting, you produce the reports. For that purpose, to create, to capture the transactions data more detailed level, to create the accounting entries for the reporting purpose, whatever the future we have within the applications, future applications that we call as accounting key flex field. Okay, this is what we have to understand. Now, where we have this accounting key flex field? The accounting key flex field we have in the general ledger application. Within the general ledger application, we have a accounting key flex field. Within the accounting key flex field, you can maintain this data. If you are going to maintain this data within the accounting key flex field, how to represent each set of the data here? This title within the accounting key flex field, we create as a chart of accounts name. You can say chart of accounts name or chart of accounts structure name. Chart of accounts structure name. Chart of account structure name. What is chart of account structure name? If you can take this information, this title in the system, you have to enter as a chart of account structure name. Now, under this title, we have a subtitles. These subtitles, if you are going to create in the system, those you call as segments. Call as segments. This we call as segments. The title you can create as chart of account structure name. Under title, what are the subtitles we have to create as a segments. And under each subtitle, we have a relevant information. The relevant information we have to create in the system as a values. Okay. As per system, what you enter that we treat as a value. The system language or in terminology point of view, value we call. Just in system, what you input that you call as value. So what values are these? If you call company subtitle as a segment, this is a company segment you call, this is a department segment you call, this is account segment you call. Why we are calling these titles as a segments? This entire data belongs to this Max Corporation. How these titles are helping us? With the help of titles only, we are able to segregate the data. In terms of segregation, the titles are helping. That is the reason those titles we call as segments. Okay, those we call as segments. Those we call as segments. This is what we have to understand about the titles. Titles we are calling as segments. When you call it as a company, these you can call as a company values. When you call it as a company segment, these you can call as a segment values. Now, company is the segment. You can call as company segment. When you say this is a company segment, these are company segment values. Company segment values. Department segment values. Account segment values. Now, for every segment, you have to create segment values. For every segment, you have to create the segment values. Since this is a spreadsheet, I can create the segment values under each segment. Directly I can create. It is possible. But in the system, that is not possible. What we have to do within the system, how we can manage this, let's see. Okay, just let me arrange this data. So in the system, what we do is Directly under these titles, you cannot maintain this data. It is not possible. Since a spreadsheet, I can enter, but in the system, not possible. So for every segment, you have to create the value set. For every segment, you have to create the value set. Within the value set, you can maintain all these values. If you are creating the value set for company, that value set you can call as company value set. So under company segment, directly you cannot maintain the company values. If you want to maintain the company values, you have to create company value set. Within the company value set, you can list out all your companies. Okay. Under company value set, you can list out all the companies. So this value set, you have to assign to company segment. You have to assign to company segment. The company value set you can assign to company segment so that these values will be available under this segment with the help of company value set. Here value sets are acting as a containers for the values. Okay, values you can create in the value sets. Value sets you can assign to company. That's how company segment can have access to company segment values. The same is applicable for any other segment. Directly you cannot maintain the values in the system. So if you want to maintain any values in the system, you have to create the value set. Here you can create department values. VS I am writing value set. Since there is no space, I'm writing as a VS. Company VS means, department VS means department value set. So within the value set, you can maintain all the departments. Now this department value set, you can assign to department segment. That's how you can maintain specific segment values under segments with the help of value sets. The same is applicable for account also. So this is what we have to understand when we are going to maintain the description related to your transaction. Here we can say account value set. Account value set. Here you can assign account value set to account set. So in the system point of view, directly you cannot maintain the values under segments. Under each segment, for each segment, you have to create one value set. So that is reason here you have to add the set. So for each segment, we have to create value set. For each segment, you have to create the value set. Within the value set, you can maintain the values. Those value sets you can assign to segments. So this is what we have to understand. Any questions here, please?
Each segment can have more than one value set.
Only one. You cannot.
Okay.
For one segment, you can assign only one value set. You can have any number of values. See, if it is a company segment, what do you want to assign to company other than company? Right? We don't need to assign anything. If it is a department segment, you have to assign the department values only. If you are trying to assign something else, it doesn't make any sense. System also doesn't allow. So for each segment, you can assign only one value set. In each value set, you can maintain unlimited values. There is no limit.
Okay.
Unlimited values you can maintain, which are related to that segment only. Other segment values you should not maintain. So there are many other points which we have to discuss about this. We will discuss before proceeding. Don't try to ask the questions which we not yet discussed. What we discussed within that, if you want to understand, you ask me the questions, I'll answer. And what else we have to understand related to that, I will explain. We'll proceed. So to understand this complete information, it takes some time. We have to we have to go through at least maybe 3-4 classes. Then you can understand this entire picture of this, the description of the transaction. Okay, maybe 4-5 classes, or minimum 4 classes. So once we complete 4-5 classes, you will be comfortable with this concept what we are discussing now. So don't try to understand everything what we are discussing. Within that, if you have any questions, let me know. Rest what we have to understand, we will keep discussing. Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, no questions. Now,
Yeah, sorry, I was talking on mute. The
Oh,
question
okay.
was in the numbering or coding the department or accounting, will it be the standardization or
yeah, we do that. We do that. That will come to know. That's what as I mentioned.
okay.
The coming sessions. Now, as to give the introduction, I given just very casual numbering. Okay. So reality, how we provide the numbering, we will see that. We will see that going forward. But as of now, take the point as we provide numbering for each and every segment value. That's it. Okay. So this complete data, if you are going to create in the system, that we call as chart of accounts. So to maintain the description for the transactions, what we have to create in the system is chart of accounts. COA we call. Okay, system point of view, if you want to capture the description in any transaction, first you have to maintain the data. When you record the transaction, you want to capture the company, department, account, and few other details also. Those all you have to maintain as a segment within the chart of accounts. Where we can create the chart of accounts? Within the accounting key flex field. Where we have accounting key flex field in the general ledger. This is what we have to understand. So within the general ledger application, by using the accounting key flex field, we can create chart of account structure, or simply you can say chart of accounts. Nothing wrong. You can call a chart of account structure, or structure name. Okay. So within accounting key flex field, okay, within the accounting key flex field, we have to create the chart of accounts. How to create the chart of accounts? First, we give the chart of accounts title, name, and we create the segments within the chart of accounts. For each segment, we have to create value set, and within the value sets, we have to maintain the segment values. This is how we have to create the chart of accounts. So when you do the real implementations, within the chart of accounts, how many segments we have to create? When you create the chart of accounts, minimum how many segments are required? And how many maximum segments we can create in the chart of account? These points we have to understand. Okay, when you talk about chart of accounts, within the chart of accounts, you can create the segments. With the help of segments, you can maintain the relevant data. So if you are going to create the chart of accounts, in any chart of accounts, so you have to create minimum 2 segments. Minimum 2 segments you have to create in every chart of accounts. In any chart of accounts, minimum you have to create 2 segments. Maximum how many segments we can create? Max you can create 30 segments. Those 2 minimum segments are what? Those 2 minimum segments are company and account. These are very, very important points. So when you create the chart of accounts in the system, when you create the chart of accounts in the system, minimum you should create 2 segments in the chart of accounts. Minimum you can create 2 segments in the chart of accounts. Max how many you can create? 30 segments. Maximum you can create 30 segments. And the minimum 2 segments are company and account. The minimum 2 segments are company and account. If you are going to record the transactions for any organization, it's a very, very basic information. What you are doing, you can represent with account. Again, the transaction belongs to which company? It's very important. If you don't want to capture it belongs to which department, okay. But reality, we capture that also. But as per system, company and account, these 2 segments are mandatory. 2 segments are mandatory. Those 2 are company and account. As of now, you take as a company and account. Going forward, you can call these 2 with the different names also. That also we will discuss to understand. So as of now, you take as it is what we are discussing. And another important point is when we do the real implementations, how many segments we create in the chart of accounts? It allows 30 segments. Okay, it allows 30 segments, but no company is using 30 segments or 25 segments or 20 segments or 15 segments. Nobody is using. Reality not required. Those many segments are not required. Every application has a capacity to capture the detailed transactions, detailed information. So that is the reason. So across the applications, what is the common data that you can capture with the help of chart of accounts for reporting purpose? So what purpose we create the chart of accounts? For reporting purpose. If you want to generate the reports, first you have to capture the data. If you want to capture the data, you have to maintain the data. That data we are going to maintain in the system with the help of chart of accounts, which you will be capturing as a description. Based on the description of the transaction, we can produce the reports. So this is the point we have to understand. Reality when we do the implementation. Okay, reality when we do the implementation, how many segments we have to create? Okay, how many segments we have to create? Generally we create. If we talk about that in the real implementations, most of the implementations, we create 7 segments, or 8 segments, or 9 segments. We don't go more than 9, 10, 11, 12. On an average, you can say 7 or 8. If you go max 9, maybe up to 10. If you are going to create the segments more than 10, that is not a right practice at all. Reality, those many segments are not required. Even you should not create many segments. If you create many segments, even system performance issues you will face before that, really not required. Really, those are not required. So whatever the transaction you are recording, the transaction within the transaction itself, you can capture the detailed information. Say you are making the payment. Within the payment itself, to whom you are paying, the supplier data would be there. By using which bank account you are paying, that information will be there. Your invoice details will be there. Everything you can find within the payment record. So you don't need to capture anything like supplier bank account through your chart of accounts, because payables application has a capacity of capturing the supplier's data, bank accounts related data, and other information. You no need to maintain your all bank account in the chart of accounts by using one segment called as bank accounts. You no need to have one segment called as suppliers to list out all the suppliers. You no need to have a segment called as customers to maintain all your customers. For customers, you have a receivables. For suppliers, you have a payables. For material, you have a inventory. This is how we have a different applications to manage the relevant data. That is the reason when you create the chart of accounts, whatever you are going to take as a segments in the chart of accounts, those should be useful in the many applications. That part you can take as a segment into chart of accounts. So that is the reason when you do the real implementation, there won't be too much of requirement for segments. In some implementations, we create 7. In some implementation, we create 8. In some implementation, maybe 9 or max 10. But more than 10, generally we don't create. If somebody is created, we cannot do anything. Okay. So that is a reality. You can say on an average 7 or 8 or 9 max. You can say on an average 8. It could be one more or one less. That's how you find the real-time implementations. Okay, that's how you find the real-time implementations. Now, if you take example of 7 segments, say you are doing the implementation for one of the client, what those 7 segments you are going to take. Let's see, reality, what segments we use in case of 7 segments are required. So as we discussed already, the mandatory 2 segments, one is company and other one is account. Definitely we have to maintain those. So if company segment is 1, and we use account segment also. These 2 are anyway mandatory. And every organization, definitely you have to track transactions belongs to which department. To track the expense what you are incurring for various purposes, you have to track the department in each and every transaction. So we need department segment also, very important. Okay, we need department segment also. When you create the transactions belongs to which company, which department, exactly what activity you did or what activity you are going to do, that you may record. What you are going to do also you may record sometimes, but reality what you did already, that we record in the system. Now take the same example, whatever we discussed. There are 3 companies here. There are 3 companies. Say those 3 companies are providing those 3 services to their customers. They are providing the financial services, consulting services, and BPO services to their customers. Sometimes they may take some services from other companies, or they may purchase something if their companies require. And within the organization, sometimes there could be the business case where one company can take the service from other company. Say consulting company may take financial services from financial services, Max Financial Services. Consulting services, Max Consulting Services is not going to take the services from the suppliers or service providers. They are taking the financial services from Max Financial Services. So here there is no transaction with the supplier or customer. When Max Consulting Services are going to take financial services from Max Financial Services company, so within our organization, Max Financial Services we treat as a supplier, and this organization we treat as a customer, but not real supplier and real customer, internal supplier and internal customer. If one company is going to buy something from another company, or once a company is going to sell to another company, one company is going to provide or receive the services from other companies, those transactions we can record in the system as intercompany transactions. Intercompany, the transactions are happening within our organization. We are not dealing with the suppliers and customer. We are recording the transactions internally. So that is we record in the system as intercompany transactions. So what company is providing the services to which company within our organization? If you want to capture more detail level and if you want to produce the reports detail level, you have to use the segment called as intercompany. These days, almost in all the organizations, you see intercompany transactions. They purchase, they sell. Apart from that, within the organization, there will be many adjustment kind of things where the services or material can be shared across that need to be tracked, and we have to produce the reports. For that reason, we use the segment called as intercompany segment within the chart of accounts. So apart from that, we create few more segments. What segments, those we will discuss. So apart from that, in every chart of accounts, as a consultant, being a consultant, we have to provide the consulting services. It is not like what we can do, we will do it. We have to understand their business and we have to help them, which is right, which is wrong, when they are going to use these vision applications. So that is the reason we are learning. We will learn these applications, how you can use the best of these applications for any company. When we are going to implement these applications for the company, you can guide them. So what they can use, for what purpose it would be useful, which is recommended, which is not recommended, which is right, which is wrong. You should help the companies to use this system. Before that, we have to implement it. So in every chart of accounts, we recommend to have 2 buffer segments. Say, for example, you created chart of accounts with 7 segments. After 2 years, you need 1 more segment. System will allow you to add 1 more segment, but everything will get disturbed. Whatever the records, whatever the transactions you recorded in the system with those 7 segments. So that is the reason we should not add any additional segments once implementation is done and once system will go live. System will go live in the sense the business will start using the application. Once business will start using the application, you should not add any segments in the chart of accounts. So if you add any new segments in the chart of accounts, once business will start using the chart of accounts, everything will get disturbed. That is the reason we should not do that activity, but we may require new segments in the future. We don't know. In the future, you may expand your business or you may acquire another businesses. You may go with some joint venture with the other companies. We don't know how it is going to be in the future. For that, you have to keep some buffer space within the chart of accounts with the future segments. Okay, with the future segments. Like you can have minimum 2 future segments. If client says we don't need to, at least you have to suggest them to have 1 future segment in the chart. Generally, we recommend 2. We don't know like when they need new segment. Say for example, after 2 years, they need 1 more segment. The 1 more segment, they can convert future 1 to the required segment and they can use. After 5 years, they need 1 more segment. Yes, future 2, they can convert into real segment, they can use. After 10 years, they need 1 more segment. They cannot do anything. Already, what are the segments you plan for future, those are consumed. So that is the reason you cannot add more than 2 segments since you are planning for 2 future segments. Chart of accounts allows 30, but you can create whatever you want before you start using the system. Once you start using the system, you should not add any segments. Even system supports, and system will disturb everything. That we should have aware. System will allow, system doesn't know that. So what are the other segments we have to create? It totally depends on the business. Okay, it totally depends on the business. So sometimes there is a company. Along with the company may perform the operations in the different sites. That you may have one of the segment as location. Okay, or else this location you can have next to company itself. So you have one company, you may do the business, you may operate that business in the different locations. Or else you may have one office. That company may perform some activities in the different locations. Which activity the company is performing, again in which location or in which city, where exactly, if you want to capture, you can have one segment called as location. With that, you can capture each and every transaction is happening in which location, even that is belongs to so company. And the rest of segments, even the location and the rest of segments, it totally depends what nature of business they are doing. Say they are into service industry, they may use one segment called as service type or line of service or service line. Okay. So this is how they can include the segment based on the nature of business what they are doing. Say the client is doing this projects also sometimes, but they are not going to use PPM applications. If any company is doing the projects, if they want to capture the detailed information of the transactions, of project related transactions, they can have a PPM applications, project portfolio management applications, so that on project how much they are spending, how much revenue they are getting, everything they can capture. If they are doing some limited project related activities, instead of going with the separate PPM application solution, they can have one segment called as project within the chart. If any transaction they are going to record in the system, they can select the project name, the transaction what they're recording, that is belongs to which project they can select whenever it is applicable, otherwise no. So whenever it is applicable, they can select project as a one of the segment value, the transactions belongs to which project, that's how they can select. So this is how we can maintain the information within the chart of accounts as segments. So company and account mandatory, always we use department along with the company and account, and almost in all the implementations also you see intercompany segment, and the location, service line or product project or product or process category or different other areas of information you may take as a segment that client will tell you very clear. So by default, company, department, account, ideally intercompany also, along with that one or two future segments. The rest of 2 to 3 segments, client says, along with this is what we want to capture, so information we want to capture. This is very essential information for us to produce the reports. That's how client will come up with. Even this all we discuss with the client and we finalize, but client will take the final decision what they want to use as a segments in their chart of accounts. So this is how we have to create the chart of accounts as a part of implementation in any project. Okay, as a part of implementation. So this is how we have to create. So going forward, I will just include a few other points also related to chart of accounts. And again, we will have a session to understand what are the best practices when we design the chart of accounts. We'll discuss what best practices we have to follow. If I talk about those, it would be so early, we cannot understand. First, we have to see in the system how to create the chart of accounts with the multiple segments. Then you will get introduction to that, and once you create and I complete rest of the part, you will understand the basic information about chart of accounts so that I can add few more details on top of it. So that's how you can get ready with the concept called as chart of accounts. Don't expect to understand everything. In fact, I am not explaining now itself. Okay, we will discuss this point in the different phases. It may take few more sessions to understand this, that's all. So this is what you have to understand about chart of accounts. There is a lot of other information also. We will complete in few sessions. So any questions on these points, please? Okay. Any questions here, please? No questions. Great. So in the next session, what we are going to discuss is to create the chart of accounts in the system. What are the sequence of steps we have to perform? We will list out in this spreadsheet and we will discuss the meaning of each and every setup. Then we will see in the system. Okay. First, how many steps are involved to create the chart of accounts in the system? And we'll try to understand what we can understand before getting into the system. Once we start creating the chart of accounts in the system, you will grab some additional information about the chart of accounts. After completing the chart of accounts, once you complete the practice from your end, 1 time or 2 times, So you can understand 60-80% of chart of accounts. And again, there will be certain points we will be discussing in upcoming sessions. After that, you will have a proper understanding about chart of accounts. Throughout our course, if anything is big or difficult, that is chart of accounts only. But reality, you no need to treat as a big or difficult. We can understand these things very, very easiest way. So just make a note of these points and read and memorize, and you should be able to talk about this. That is the target why I am introducing. Otherwise, directly I can jump into the system. I can show how to create the chart of accounts. Okay, I'm trying to introduce the terminology. We have a general ledger application. Within that, we have accounting key flex field. Within that, we can create the chart of accounts. Inside of chart of accounts, we can create the segments. For each segment, we can create the value set. In each value set, you can create the segment values. This is how we are going to create in the system, but we will discuss in the next session the detailed steps. Okay, this is high level. The detailed steps we will discuss. And you have to remember this terminology. You should be able to speak out. That's very, very important. Okay. So please make a note of all these points and read and remember. Anyway, this sheet also I'll be keep sharing. So once I create the Google Drive, I'll place the videos as well as this class discussion sheet also in the same folder. You can access this, but from our end, you try to make a note, because here I may not write each and everything, whatever I'm explaining. For our discussion purpose, for our better understanding purpose, what data is required, I am writing that. Okay, everything I may not write, but you please plan to write whatever I'm explaining, what we are doing in the system. Please make a note, so that that would be very, very useful for you to prepare and to practice. So we're done for today. If you don't have any questions, we can wind up. The next session would be on Monday. So as per our schedule, classes Monday to Friday. We don't have classes on Saturday and Sunday. The next session would be on Monday, same time. So meantime, just you try to complete whatever we completed in the system. Whatever we completed in the system, please try to complete, so that whatever we are going to do in the next session, immediately you can replicate from your end as a practice. So that will help you to understand better when you attend the classes. Easily you can connect what we are going to discuss. If there is any dependency on previous classes, since you are going to complete the practice, that definitely will help you. And whatever the terminology we are using, what we are writing here, read and memorize. That's very, very important. Everything. What are the different instances we use? Quickly, you should be able to give the answer that already we discussed. Again, we are not going to discuss. Whatever we discuss, that you should be able to speak out. That's very, very important. So we're done for today. Any questions from anyone, please? Great.
So these timings will continue, right?
Yes.
8:30 to 10. I mean, for
Yes.
or you expect any stoppage in the batch or anything for 3 months? You expect this to continue, right? Because these timings are good, and that's why.
Yes. Correct. Correct.
Okay.
No break
Okay.
in
Thank you.
between. Will continue. This would be 3 months course.
Okay.
So same timings. If you guys require 30 minutes before or after, just we can fluctuate, but not more than that. That if you guys want to prepone or postpone, I will do it. Otherwise, it's fixed.
Okay. Thank you.
8:30 to 10. Yeah, thanks. Any questions, please? If no questions, we'll connect on Monday.
Lakshman, I have
Please.
sent you one email yesterday for drive access, this folder access for this batch.
This batch I not yet created. We completed 4 classes. 4 class videos I directly upload in YouTube itself. You can get those videos from the team. Or else if you go to ERPTREE channel within the YouTube, on the top you can find this 4.
Okay, you'll be creating folder, but for this,
Very
right?
soon, very soon.
Okay.
These are very initial classes, right? Maybe after 2-3 classes, I'll create the folder. So that folder access you will get everyday session directly. I will drop in the same folder, including the instance details. So you can access and you can download.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. So any questions, please? No questions. So that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow, same time. Thank you all. Sorry, on Monday. Okay, we'll connect on Monday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lakshmana.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you all.